Everybody, it's Laura Husband here from Hairdressers Journal International. We've got a fantastic session for you this afternoon, from salon to session, and we've got the amazing Karoliina Saunders with us, who is a salon owner and a session stylist, and she's worked alongside the likes of Guido, Gill and Eugene Souleiman, and today she's going to be sharing how to create a look ready for the catwalk that encompasses the ongoing punk trend. In fact, she's got two looks to share with us today, so she's spoiling us. Hello there, Karoliina. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, hi, Laura. Thanks so much for having me. It's really nice to have this afternoon. You know, I've been prepping all these models of mine.
It looks incredible already. It's a real showstopper. So, do you want to maybe just start by telling us a little bit about what you're going to be doing for us today?
Okay, so I just wanted to show a little bit of the sort of session work that we do, and this particular look that I'm working with, first of all, is based on my collections. I'm basing my collections often to editorial, as well as more like the idea of our hairdressing industry, just to bring some new ideas, how we can style and how we can bring on just the styling ideas, really. I think for me, being in a session world is it's really good way of tapping into new ideas and different ideas. So with this particular one, this is more like a new romantic from the sort of 80s punk vibe, like vibes, and like more of a 80s feel to it. I wanted to showcase also how to create extra hair. So both of these mannequins have extra pieces put in them.
Brilliant.
In a hair wefts. Because quite often when you find that if you're doing a shoot or if you're working in a show, the models don't always want to have their hair cut because their portfolio will have to look the way it does. So then you come to that point that you think, okay, so how do I change the look? Because you may want to have a fringe, or you may want to create extra length, or you may want to cut some pieces off. So I've put some hair pieces in here, and I'm going to show you how to create this kind of textured look. I've used straight hair pieces, but I'm going for showing how to use create more of a textured feel to it. So yeah, so there's a few different techniques that I want to showcase for you.
Fantastic. Well, and while you kind of get started with the showing us the techniques, maybe you can also share with everybody watching a little bit about your background and how you went from being obviously a salon owner, which you still are, to working backstage at Fashion Week, and how you juggle all of that as well, I guess, because it's mental, really.
It can be mental. Well, I started actually hairdressing really young. I started hairdressing when I was 15, and originally I'm from Finland, so I did my apprenticeship in Finland. And first of all, looking at the very first part of my my career, I actually didn't go into hairdressing because I really wanted to be a hairdresser. I wanted to be a makeup artist, and I was really into all the sort of fashion, and I collected Vogues. I still collect Vogues, and I had all these different ideas. I practice all this makeup and everything, but the school system in Finland is very different, so it's not that easy to get to a school or college. So there's like an elimination process, and you get points, and at that point I was only 15, so they said to me, look, we really need you to have a bit more experience. So I then panicked, and I remember I went to my hairdresser, and she said to me, you need to be a hairdresser. And I said, why? And because I kept on going to her and always taking photos of different hair, sort of parts of hair. So I want my fringe like this, I want my back of my hair like that. And that's when she said, you should really do that. And I gave it a little bit of thought, and then went to a salon in Helsinki. And this salon was very sort of competition minded and competition driven. So my boss at the time, she was champion in barbering. So I was introduced to that side of sort of hairdressing quite early on, and I found that really exciting, or the styling part of it as well. So cutting that to short, I then met my husband and moved to England and worked for Tony and Guy for 8 years. And that's actually when my career kind of got really exciting, and I got really excited about the actual show work and photographic work and editorial work.
Amazing.
But then, obviously, like going a few years again, when I opened my salon, it gave me that point. At that point, I realized I can really work on what I want to be, and going back to that fashion and all those editorial looks that I wanted to create, I really got interested in session work more and more. I had actually met Eugene Souleiman years before then. I'd met him in art team meeting in Tony and Guy, and his stuff just blew me away. And I thought, oh my God, I need to sort of learn from him. And why it took me so long is just one of those things. I think if I had known how to get there, how to do it more, and I think I would have pursued that even earlier. But yeah, I'm pleased that I've actually gone that route now, even though it is a juggle. Of course it is, because you have a salon and you have to organize everything. It's all about organization, but it's such a great creative outlet as well, and I learned so much in this time that I've been with the teams. I've learned so much.
Exactly. And you're proof that you can juggle being a salon owner with doing session work, aren't you?
You can. I think if you really, really want to do that, you will have to look at what sacrifices will you give. So you will have to sacrifice some areas, like personal life. Lot of things. I mean, you have to put a lot of time into it. So you will have to make sure that obviously you look after every aspect. So you then narrow it down into you will do a few days in the shows, and then you do a few days in the salon. And I have been, when I'm in Paris, for example, I will call the salon every day and make sure that everybody's okay. And you still have to remember that you still have that salon working whilst you're away. And does that have to remain your priority, Karoliina? To a certain degree, it does. Yeah, you do still have to remember that you have that's your priority. And when things start to go wrong, you do. I have had to cut the show short sometimes when things have gone wrong. It can be quite heartbreaking when they've got a great show ahead of you, and you have to make the decision. But it's just one of those things that it's just you have to. If you want to have both, then that's what you have to do. Yeah, definitely. Well, but, do you want to maybe show us a little bit about this punk look that you're going to be creating for us today? Yeah, sure. So what I've done here, let's just start from the beginning, because obviously I have prepped a lot of this beforehand. Now, first of all, the reason why I have these cards, because they're brilliant, not because I want to play cards, but because they're brilliant to keep the hair flat. Sometimes I find that when you have these cover clips, which are also great, that you can use, they're just too small, so they might leave indents throughout. So that's why I like to use a flat card. So it gives you a really tip. Yeah, it's a really, really good way of doing it. So I'm going to take them off first of all. So idea behind this look is there's actually a couple of elements. I always like to do a little bit of technical, a little bit of different ideas from different eras, because when I take my inspiration, it's never really from one thing. It's something that I start playing with. I start playing with ideas, and here I really wanted to create something that's more like there's a bit of the 80s kind of punk to actually 50s rockabilly, a bit like the kind of like a teddy boy feel, because I'm going to curl this in from the back. So that's going to create almost like that 50s kind of rockabilly feel to it. And I always like putting together different things. And really tightly, I'm just going to tighten it there. But before I did do this, I'm going to explain to you how I got to this point.
Yeah.
So I have blow dried it first with sea salt spray, and I used a comb, Denman comb, which has three rows. So I literally just been brushing it up with my comb. The reason why I use this comb is because it creates a brilliant, like a square shape when I dry it. I find that this works better than using a brush.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's another good tip there.
So you really use your nozzle and you go up and you hold it and press it, and then it creates like a dent through there. I really wanted to have a bit more of a square shape. I know she's a lady, but I wanted to get that more of a masculine feel to it.
And with session work, Karoliina, do you find that slightly more exaggerated looks work better?
I think yes. I think everything goes always a little bit bigger, or everything goes a little bit fluffier, or if a ponytail is sleek. It's like super sleek. And this is one thing that I've noticed with that. What I had to learn was when I went into a session, I wasn't really, I didn't realize this, but in a salon we do a blow dry, and we do it really well and do it sort of nice and smooth and everything. But in a session you have to do, like I said, really super smooth. And every model that walks on a catwalk, if they have to have the same style, they will have to be the same height, same width. So if you have a ponytail, if ponytail is at the bottom, it has to be at the same point. It can't be just slightly higher or a little bit halfway, or everything has to be in the same position. So they look just very the same.
So precision is super important then. You've got to be super precise with what you do.
Which that's something that I realised that I love. I really love being precise with things.
And just while you're doing that, Karoliina, do you want to maybe tell us about what the secret was to you getting backstage at Fashion Week with the likes of Guido and Eugene Souleiman? Because I bet a few people watching will be wondering, how did you get that in? That must be the hard part, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I first of all, I worked in London Fashion Week. I was with Label M. I am with Label M. I wasn't, so I am with Label M, and they invited me to their session team, and I was doing the shows for them and building my portfolio with them, like a short show portfolio. But then I decided that I really wanted to learn more, so I did a course, digital course, which was all about session styling, and that gave me a really good ideas of how to find my own aesthetic, because I didn't have a clue. I didn't realize that that was so important, and also how to approach the agencies, because that you can't just wait at home and just wait for Guido to give you a call.
No,
It's not,
not going to
it's not going to
happen.
happen. So, so yes, but that also, are you actually, who do you want to work with? That was really big part of my journey. Who do I want to work with? Where I'm going with my career, and what is my aesthetic? So that was a really important part of that. If I wanted to work with someone that wasn't really the same aesthetic as I am, maybe we would have worked as well together. So I wanted to really look into those areas first, and then I put my portfolio together and just approached. I looked into who's working in which agency, and just approached them directly. Don't get me wrong, it took to get any answers, but be persistent. If you want something, then you will get it. You will get there.
Oh, brilliant! You're proof of that, Karoliina. Do you want to maybe talk us through what you're doing at the moment?
So I'm just going to turn this around now so you can see. I'm just twisting this in because I want it to go right in together. So it kind of like just marries each other from the back. So it goes nice and tight in. But I think with one of the main things about this any styling work is that make sure you prep it really, really well. The hair has to be almost moldable. You know, if you feel that it's loose, and I think this is one thing that we probably find from salon work, we tend to work with less product because the client doesn't really like necessarily to have the feeling of product in their hair. So you have to kind of forget about that when you go into doing any editorial or session work. You need to almost, again, go a little bit over the top with it.
Yeah.
Or he feels like you're going over the top with it.
I guess the models don't mind, do they, as much? They're happy for you to put lots of product in their hair.
Yeah, exactly. Unless obviously the brief is different. Sometimes we have had, recently we've had shows where there's been no product really at all, which is interesting as well. So
you said that for this look you prepped with a sea salt spray, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was the sea salt spray that you used?
I used this one, this one.
Oh, perfect. So label M
sea salt spray.
Perfect.
It's one of those sprays that you don't get sticky or too dry. It's still blend, sort of moldable. But then on the same note, I wanted this to be, sea salt spray always gives a little bit drier feel to the hair, so I didn't want it to be anything too greasy or anything too shiny, because I don't want any shine on this.
It's looking great.
So just tucked it in there. Right. So once I've done that, I'm going to show you here. We have our hair pieces. Don't know if you can see them.
Oh yeah.
Can you see them?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So I have put approximately about 7 hair pieces in there because there wasn't enough hair. It's quite, became a bit short. So what I do is I take a hair weft like this and I measure it. It's not a special hair or anything. I'll just bought it from, it's just anything will do. And I use just a bit of glue, and I put the glue onto the actual rim of it, and then I put it on the hair like this, and then with the cold air I dry it. Don't use warm air because it won't stick.
Brilliant.
You need to have cold air.
We've got a question, Karoliina, from Dawn asking, what's the best way to become a session stylist? Would you say there's a best way to making it as a session stylist?
I don't think there's such best way as such. I think the first thing that I think if you find who you are as a stylist, first of all, get your own aesthetic now, know what you're looking for, make sure that you understand who you want to work with and who you want to learn from, and be persistent. And you need a lot of energy as well. You need to be able to wake up early and go to bed late. So it's quite often it's a lot of travel involved. But I do think that if you are already styling and you are good at styling, you enjoy styling, you're halfway there in that aspect. It's really important that you then learn how to do the backstage basics, I think. And I think that was really great that I had the chance to do that. Doing the ponytails, you need to be able to learn how to do ponytails, back combing, braiding, and things like that. That's really important.
Would you recommend any particular courses for those, Karoliina?
I think there's, if you actually look at there's lots of courses around. So there's different editorial courses, and I'm running a course myself for anything like that. So I'm doing it one-to-one courses, and I'm also doing digital. So at the moment, because the digital, we can't all travel. No. So there's also that opportunity. So if anybody wanted to come and see me, they can. Or I've got my new premises. I just got the keys to them a week ago. So
how exciting! Brilliant.
So what I'm doing now, I'm not brushing it out. So it's going to go crazy.
Oh, brilliant. This is the fun part, isn't it?
I love this part, yeah. I actually really love textured hair. It's one of my favorite ones. And actually, before I started doing shows, I wasn't very familiar with textured hair. And that's one of the things I think, and it's really good to do if you really want to get into fashion shows and session work, is learn to do textured hair.
That's a very good tip. And Dawn, if you're watching, contact Karoliina at the end of this session, and she can tell you more about the course that she'll be doing on session styling. How can anyone get in touch with you, Karoliina, if they want to find out more about the session styling tutorials that you'll be doing?
The best thing to do is to even DM me on Instagram at Karoliina Saunders, and I'm always on it. I won't miss your. That's probably the best bet.
So yeah, just send her a DM on Instagram at Karoliina Saunders, and it's Karoliina with 2 eyes.
Yeah, that's it, Karoliina with 2 eyes. Look, check her out. She's getting a.
And textured hair is just everywhere at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. We have lots of clients who come in, with curly hair. And it's brilliant. I love it.
So it's a super on-trend style.
Pardon?
The super on-trend style, perfect.
Yeah. So I'm just pressing it down a little bit and moulding it. It has enough product in it for you to mould it as well. And that's really important when going back to the product usage. I think there's quite often we find that we stick to, as hairdressers, we stick to the same stuff, same products. So play around with your products a little bit and do a bit of cocktailing as well to see what works. And if you actually want to go into session work, I find that one of the interesting parts of it is that you work with different product companies because they are maybe sponsored by somebody. So you all of a sudden you're in this real mad backstage and somebody's like, can you bring me such and such? And you think, oh gosh,
what's that? You might not have used it before.
Yeah, so at first when you get there, you feel like you, but once you've been working with the team and you get to know the products, it's actually, you know, it's really nice to be able to mix with different products.
Would you recommend, say somebody's going for the first time to work backstage on a show, if you know who's sponsoring the show, is it a good idea to get your hands on the products and experiment with them beforehand?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've never done that though, but I think that would be a brilliant way of doing it. Definitely.
Because like I guess you could have a sea of products that you might not have necessarily used before.
Yeah, and you know, I have been there before as well. Don't get me wrong. I've been there before where I've just literally just don't have a clue what, you know, how, and it can be quite daunting, to be honest. So that's why it's always good to be early everywhere and be the one who's actually dealing with, you know, looking at the products and making sure. Ask questions. You know, don't just use something and, you know, think that it's going to work. Just, you know, be that person that goes, how much do you need me to put in? It's a lot more helpful than somebody who just puts too much on, you know, doesn't put enough in. So I'm always asking questions.
I mean, because for anybody who's never been backstage at Fashion Week, I'm sure you'll be able to testify to this, Karoliina, but it's just a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it's nothing. Actually, that's one of the parts I fell in love with, because it's nothing that I've never experienced before. But it's a bit like somebody coming into the salon on a Saturday when it's crazy. And if you were thrown into a salon and your first day was Saturday when it's crazy, you probably would turn around and go, actually, I don't really want to be a hairdresser.
That's very true. And we were talking earlier, Karoliina, weren't we, that obviously it's London Fashion Week, which is crazy when you think about it. And the way that obviously Fashion Week has had to change this year with the whole coronavirus situation.
Yeah, everything's very digital this year. And a lot of the companies are not really doing big shows at all. I mean, most shows are actually filmed, and then you can digitally, the audience can watch them. So they're keeping the teams, backstage teams, has to be very small as well. So I'm going to take my little heroes here, and I'm just going to cut this now.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to use the mirror, otherwise I'm going to go really wonky.
No
so
worries.
I do apologise. I'm going to show you in a moment.
No, you go for it. It's absolutely fine, Karoliina.
Yes, I need to say, I'm just literally just going to cut it like that.
We were actually talking earlier as well about the fact that you were invited to work backstage at Paris Fashion Week this year, but because you are a salon owner, you have to factor in the quarantine time that now exists. So that so going to Paris Fashion Week would mean 2 weeks quarantine time out of the salon. So you've had to weigh that up, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it just can't happen. I can't take 2 weeks off. It wouldn't be feasible. And I've had to make the decision that I can't go. It breaks my heart though, because I love that, you know, it's the first time in so many seasons. I haven't been in that, you know, in Paris. So, and Paris Fashion Week is actually one of my favorite ones.
How does it do you sense a different vibe when you're working in Paris Fashion Week compared to, say, London Fashion Week, in terms of the hairstyling and what you're expected to do as a session stylist?
Yeah, somehow you do actually. I do love if I would say London's always exciting because I also get to see all my industry friends, and we always meet up, and it's great. But the hair is very different. It's really exciting. Very, you know, quite often quite street, quite there's really cool designers. Yeah, really cool. And then obviously Paris, and I love the vibe in Paris. And then one of the ones that I love doing is doing the couture season. And that's exciting as well. So I went to New York, which was interesting. That's quite far away to go to though, and obviously at the moment nobody can really travel.
No.
Well, I just want to keep this quite square, so I've taken those tails off, so everything's square.
Yeah, that's a really strong look, isn't it, Karoliina? It's brilliant.
I love it. I feel like I want to do a shoot with this now.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, it's a mannequin.
We were talking earlier, weren't we, about whether or not you name your mannequins, but
yeah, I don't actually. Like I said, I don't. Yeah, as I said, all the girls in the salon, they have names for them. I let them call them names.
Well, whatever her name is, she's looking awesome.
Thank you. Okay. So here we are. Oh, we've got a clip here. Can't let that happen.
Amazing. So do you want to maybe just give us a little quick run through then of the look?
There's a clip on the front as well. I'll take that off first. Okay, so first of all was the blow dry with my comb and using sea salt spray and really pulling really dragging the roots. Obviously we have textured hair here, so dragging the roots and creating that squareness through just where the head starts to curve. You want to have the squareness there. And of course, when you blow dry the back going where you want it to sit. So if you're styling the hair going up, diagonally up, you blow dry it diagonally up. So you don't create any lift then through the root. Because if you start blow drying it straight down and then you try and lift it, you're going to have really volumized back rather than a flat back. So I wanted to have that really quite straight line through there. Of course, I just curl it into my little teddy boy kind of shape.
Like you say, there's lots of inspiration that went into creating this look, isn't there?
It's weird because sometimes you start looking at things and you kind of like you start looking at the shape and you think actually that's really, this is almost like there's also a feel of a flat top.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all those elements, and I started looking at it when I started to get into it. I thought, well, there's quite a different eras there. That's what I love about hair. You can put loads of different ideas from different areas of past, and that's why I always look into the past before I get an idea. So then we shape this side, and I've attached the hair pieces through there. And I was using this same technique that I'm using here with the figure 8 technique, which I will show you in a minute.
I love how she's looking right now, Karoliina, I have to say. She looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to leave them there. It's just like, yeah, that's the look. So yes, so then really press through, get a nice bit of texture, really nice and sort of fluffy. I didn't want it to look really defined or anything like that. I wanted to have like that really fluffy and textured feel to it. And then obviously just cut that nice and square through here. So it's almost like a book there, actually. So there we are.
Brilliant.
If there's any questions, I can always ping some answers there.
Fantastic. And we've got somebody tuning in called Suzu, who says, "Go girl, looking good."
Oh, Susu!
Yay!
Susu!
Suzu, I love the name, it's brilliant. So yeah, so she's lovely.
Susu's from Finland.
Oh, brilliant. Also, she's tuning in from Finland. Well,
Yes.
great to have you with us, Susu.
Moi Susu. So, that. Okay. What are we now? What are we doing? Okay, you can't talk about fashion without having some form of ponytail. So that's why I thought I'd just bring this thing into it. I can't emphasize it enough. Practice your ponytails if you want to hit the backstage. Whether it's a high pony, low pony, any pony, just practice it. Okay, but I'm not going to go into detail how to do it. I think I've done a lot of tutorials how to do a ponytail. So if you want me to show you, I can. Just contact me and I can do that.
Brilliant.
So here, this hair
makes perfect. Is it a case of practice makes perfect with the ponytail? Yeah,
it can take time. Sometimes it can be. It depends on the hair, and it depends on your prep again. Again, you use the right product, blow dry to the right direction, and I think that's really important. With this one, we don't actually. This fringe part is hair pieces.
Mm.
So underneath here, which way do I want to go? We have the hair pieces like that.
Oh yes.
Okay. Because if you think about it, just doing a visual, it's a visual that you're creating. So whether you're doing a show or whether you're doing a shoot, you're creating a visual. So whether obviously you don't want this. If you're in a show, you have to make sure that nothing's showing through here, like a hairpiece, or it doesn't move. It has to be really polished, so it doesn't. There's no chance of the model moving their head and the hairpiece is showing. Sometimes it's good to sew them in even. So how I did this, I created a ponytail, just flipped it over and put a band underneath, and then glued a bit of hair around it. Because her hair wasn't long enough for me to go around, but if the hair was long enough, I could just take a piece and then just glue it with the hairspray and go around.
That's a good little trick as well. With session, if you've got somebody with shorter hair, you can always use a hairpiece
and then use, just make sure you colour match it. So how I do this is exactly the same way I did it with the textured style. I'm going to open one now. So it's like a U-pin. Can you see it? And you do like a figure 8. So you go around like this.
Right.
So, and what you will do is you put this on here, and you go around. Oh, let me just go around like this.
And how long do you leave those in the hair for, Karoliina?
Well, you don't have to leave them on for long. What you do is you spray them with hairspray before you you do the figure 8, and then you spray it again, and then you take straightening irons and you heat them up. And then obviously you have to let them cool down as well.
Of course, yeah.
Because if you don't let it cool down, it will just go straight. So with these pieces here, I actually sprayed some, actually it's coming onto my fingers now. I sprayed some colour spray. It's just like a highlighting toner.
Oh yeah.
Which is a really great way of creating colour. If you have any kind of toners, like there's a lot of different makes. It doesn't have to be that this particular brand, like Label M, but Label M has like blue, red, pink, blonde. So you could use it on brunettes. And then this is a brunette one. So it just creates a little bit of shadow, or, you know, just makes it a little bit fun. Sometimes it also, when you look at the models can't have any color.
Yes.
So you will have to then find an alternative how to create that look, especially if you're doing a show where everybody has to have the same kind of look. Then we have to improvise.
Do you find, Karoliina, that your session work also inspires your salon work?
Massively, absolutely massively, it does. Yeah, I find that since doing session work, my salon styling has up the notch, definitely. And it's a great way of teaching my team as well.
I bet, because you must learn so many tricks along the way and kind of come up with tricks along the way.
Yeah.
You know what the outcome needs to be. You've just got to get there.
And often it's kind of simple, and you just try and complicate it in your mind. And when somebody shows you something new, or you see something new, and I think one of the big things I always say to my team, or anyone who's going into hairdressing or wants to become a session stylist, is that make sure that you follow the right people, that the people that you want to learn from. Ask to assist them. I know there's a lot of talks about free work, but if somebody's given me, even to this stage of my career, if somebody says to me, you can spend a day with such and such, I look at it as an education, because you never walk out of that day and go, oh, that was rubbish. You will go, wow, that was, oh my God, I can't believe I got to spend a day with this person, and they taught me all they know for nothing.
And that's priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah. Is there anyone, Karoliina, that you haven't had the chance to work with yet who you'd absolutely love to work with?
Yeah, I haven't actually pursued it myself. It's my own fault, but I do think, obviously, the great Sam McKnight, but I haven't pursued that one myself. But that's my own fault not to go forward with it.
But like it takes persistence, doesn't it? So when you've got the time, you'll be able to reach out.
Yeah. And you kind of, and you are, when you're learning from such a, I love working in the teams that I work in, so I've been quite happy with everything. So of course there might be a time when I go, actually it'd be really nice to learn something like a new as well. So.
Yeah.
But I'd say that when you're in every session, every season, I come back with completely new head on my shoulders when I come back from there. So I've never come back and go, I didn't learn anything. I've always learned something new. I love it.
It's looking amazing as well, Karoliina. Lots of texture going on.
Oh, I love texture. It's just brilliant. Such a simple look as well. I mean, this one as well, I want to photograph this. The reason why I put some of this darker colour through the ends is because I wanted to create a bit of a shadow through there, so it's not completely the same thing. Again, I'm going to cut it though. I'm not going to leave it this long. But with this length here, like with this section here, you have to make sure that you've got enough hair to cover the bonds, like all the wefts, and then also do a good colour match with your, with your hair wefts. So they don't. Although it could look quite cool if it was slightly different colour as well, but that might look a little bit too separate. We'd have to mix some different colours with it then, I think.
Karoliina, you mentioned earlier creating a portfolio to get into session work. To create a portfolio, would you do looks like this on mannequins and take pictures of them to create your portfolio when you were first kind of getting into session work?
At the beginning, I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have even thought of that. But now after lockdown, I've realised that there's a lot of people creating some amazing work with mannequins and just photographing them. And I have heard that they've actually got work by just doing that, because that showcases that, you know, what they can do, whether it's the human head or mannequin head. So yes, I would just do as much as, and obviously tag the people you want to see it. Tag the right people, but and that's one way of doing it. But I think also it's always good to have that collaboration with other people, and I think that's one of the things that you really want to look into, is having a, you know, collaborate with some, you know, with the photographer, makeup artist, and create a great shoot. Get more of an editorial feel to your hair, your page. If it looks too hairdressy, it might not be. When I say hairdressy, if it's just your client work, it might not work for you so well, because they do want to see what makes you tick, what makes you, how, what can you do creatively.
So it's kind of stepping away from your everyday client zone and into your creative inspirational zone.
But I have 2 pages. I have one for the salon and one for my session work, or my professional work. So for example, so I have Karoliina Saunders is my personal one that I put all my work, and then the salon one has all my staff as well as mine. Okay,
brilliant.
We've got some. It's actually quite good to have that mirror there. We get to actually see what's going on.
Good placement,
Good placement. So now I just want to have a little bit, I want to tidy it up a bit. Just a little bit. But I don't want to show her eyes.
Is that a specific trimmer you're using?
I'm using the Wall Heroes, and I always use these. I don't actually, when I do men's hair, I very rarely do so clipper work. I normally scissor over comb every gen, but these are the ones that I then trim the neck with. And I have men's, my clients mainly, majority of them have longer hair anyway. They don't have fades as such.
Interesting. If there's any last minute questions, please do let us know sooner rather than later, because we will be wrapping up soon, won't we, Karoliina?
Yeah, it's gone really quickly.
It's gone really quick.
Yeah, mind you, we were talking, we nearly missed the session.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I'm keeping this quite square. So if I'm doing 2 looks, I kind of like to have some continuity, like so they kind of marry each other a little bit. So there's something that goes together, even if it's just a little thing. So if you're doing like a show or presentation, it's always nice to have something that goes kind of together with each other.
Is it a bit like the idea of having sisters but not twins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to have twins.
Wow.
There we go. Where's my spray? spray. I'm going to put a little bit of texturizing volume spray. This is like a dry spray. It's a little bit like backcombing in a can.
Yeah.
As you can see now, because I did that with the highlight, so I did that darker, it gives a little bit more of a feeling of depth and change of colour.
That's really striking. And that would have a real presence walking down a catwalk, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the side profile from there. Going through. You know what? I'm going to photograph this.
I think you should, 100%. Because that is so impressive.
I'm going to spend the next hour here
getting all the different angles.
I get so excited about hair; it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's brilliant.
One of the things I wanted to say as well, if anybody wants to look for like inspiration, other thing I do read is like a fashion history.
Ah, brilliant!
Book.
That's a good tip. Who's the book by?
It's got Taschen. It's just basically like it's all about history.
Oh, fantastic!
From Rococo to, and it's all these kind of amazing. If you're looking at sort of inspiration and in what you want to do,
that's a great one.
So I highly recommend this book. I love reading. There's like things like that, you know, it's a great idea for a hair as well.
And that's on a statue, isn't it, by the looks of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So
that looks like a fantastic coffee table book that you could kind of leave at home and just pick it up and have a little flick through all the time.
Yeah, as long as you don't have 8-year-old son.
It might not stay all in one piece.
It's not as nice and clean. I just keep it in my own little cupboard. Yeah.
Your private stash.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point this out because I've got some really good ideas from there, and it's a nice one too. There's loads of different fashion history books that are really good to read as well. So don't get your inspirations just from Pinterest, even though Pinterest is great. But I think go a bit more beyond, rather than, if you don't find an idea, rather than taking your phone and looking at it from the phone, go for a walk, have a look around, take pictures, see what you can see around you. And
that's a great tip, because I guess everybody else's first port of call is to look on the phone. So it means everyone's getting the same inspiration. Whereas if you go somewhere else, you're going to get something different.
You get your own idea, you get something that you see that's going to be unique to you, and because you see it differently than anybody else. So,
oh, fantastic. Well, do you want to maybe just quickly do a little wrap up of the blonde model?
Yes. So this is just a simple ponytail, and the ponytail has been folded forward and wrapped with elastic, and then I put some hair around it. Just glued it with the hairspray, and underneath the section I placed hair wefts, making sure that I went smaller, from small to larger, so it kind of follows the shape. So you then have this veil coming over, and then I did my U-pins. I used the figure 8 grade and sprayed them, and with the flat irons heated it up, and then just brushed it out. Actually, before then, I did use the highlighting toner just to create the darker before I put the hair into the figure 8 braids. So then brush them out, and there we are.
Brilliant.
We've probably like the side profile more.
Oh, fantastic. We've got a request to see both looks close up as well, Karoliina.
Close up?
Yes, please. We've got a request to see both looks close up if possible. So there's the first one. If you're able to sort of maybe just spin it around so we can get a nice close up of it.
There we go. Try not to knock you over.
Oh, that's like that. Perfect.
Okay.
Brilliant. And if you're able to
that's
do
number one. And here comes the other. So let me just put that one. So we start from the front. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Down to the side.
Such a strong look with the way you've got the edging and everything. It's brilliant.
There's the back. And then there's obviously one side.
Amazing.
And then back to the front.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Karoliina. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this session with you.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had such a great time and it's been so lovely.
Brilliant. Well, it comes across. And all of the inspiration that you've shared with us and the tips and everything have been fantastic. And anyone who wants to reach out to Karoliina and find out more about how to get into session styling, you're happy for them to send you a DM on Instagram?
Absolutely, yeah. Just get hold of me, and I'm always happy to talk. And as I said, I am running a course, whether it's digital or one-to-one or in a small group. Obviously, we can't have too many, but small groups courses. So yeah, just get in touch with me, and I can help you out.
Perfect. And now's a great time, isn't it, ahead of next Fashion Week, to sort of figure out how to get into that session world and up your game.
Definitely. And I think at this point, we all have time to maybe reflect a little bit and look at what we want to do with our where we want to branch out. And if you do have, I know that some salons are working only 3 days a week, that they have 3-day weeks, and then you have you might be doing shorter weeks and so on. So just use that time to educate yourself and get yourself sort of forward, get you move forward, with your career.
Definitely. So I hope some people reach out to you. I'm sure they will, Karoliina. And thank you so much again for sharing the sisters with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Laura.
You're very welcome, Karoliina.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.